Okay, hello ladies and gentlemen, Forrest over here and welcome back to another live stream. Today I will be reading as much, if not all of part 4 of Loveless here tonight. To catch us up to speed real quick from the moments of part 3, our main character, excuse me, our main character, Georgia, Georgia War, has has been dealing with trying to balance her life with what just happened in regard to her two friends. Um, and so, at the end of the day, we do have one friend, Josh. We do have one friend here that has, or Jason, I'm sorry, I haven't read the book in a couple weeks. And I am looking at the inside of the book so I know what exactly I'm talking about. But yeah, actually, you know what? I want to read with my glasses on because I think my glasses are okay for the night. Let me check with them. Close enough. But yeah, so one of so Jason is already brought back to her side. Now the fun is going to begin with Pip because out between the two of them, Pip was very much hurt. And so now, Georgia, as well as, um, as well as that moment when you haven't read the book, so you can't quite remember the names of characters. Um, but yeah, so looking back in here real quick. Oh wait, I may have to. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is I already? Yes, I am actually. I need to fix the title, actually. But I'll fix it later. We're moving on. So it's actually. I thought we were on part 4. That's my mistake. I just realized now we're actually in the second half of part 4. But either way, we're going to finish the rest of this part, so let's just get right straight into it. Uh, let's just get right straight into it. I'll have to fix the title later. Oh yeah, the name is Rooney. Yeah. Yeah, her name is Rooney. So right now Pip is very upset at Georgia and Rooney for what happened one particular night, and right now they're not really on talking terms, but they're really trying to get it on talking terms with them. Let's see how that goes, shall we? Sorry. Sunil peered at Jason's framed photo of Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. for a solid few seconds before tapping it and asking, "Would somebody like to explain this, please?" "It's a long story," said Jason, who was sitting on his bed. "It's a good story, though," I added. Me and Rooney were on the floor with Jason's pillows as backrests, though Rooney was having a small power nap. "Well, now I'm even more intrigued." Jason sighed. "How about I explain once we've actually decided what we're doing about Pip?" It was a week after our Scooby-Doo outing. With Jason back in the Shakespeare Soch, things were looking up and we'd actually been able to have a proper rehearsal. But we couldn't do the show without Pip. And it wasn't just about that anyway. The society was important to all of us, but our friendship with Pip was more important. That was what needed saving. I just didn't know exactly how I was going to do that. "We're talking about Pip?" said Rooney, who had apparently just woken up. Rooney was still going out most nights and returning in the early hours. I didn't know whether I could stop her or if I even should. She wasn't doing anything wrong, technically. I just got the sense that she did it to numb everything else. I thought we were rehearsing, I said. There's no point in carrying on with rehearsals if Pip isn't coming back, Jason stated, and there was silence as we all realized that he was right. Sunil perched on Jason's desk and folded his arms. So, do you have any suggestions? Well, I've been talking to her and... Wait, you've been talking to her? Rooney said, sitting upright. It's not me she has a feud with. We're still friends. We're at the same college. You can get her to come back then. She'll listen to you. I've tried, Jason shook his head. She is angry. And Pip doesn't forgive easily. He looked at me and Rooney. I mean, I sort of understand why. What you both did was incredibly idiotic. Jason knew about the kiss. Of course he did. Pip probably told him everything. I felt myself go red out of sheer embarrassment. What did you do? Sunil asked curiously. They kissed and Pip saw, said Jason. Oh. Can we explain our side of the story about that? Rooney asked. I mean, my guess is that you were drunk and it was Rooney's idea, said Jason. And you both instantly regretted it. Okay, that's fairly accurate. So what should we do? Asked Sunil. I think Georgia and Rooney are just gonna have to keep trying to talk to her until she's willing to listen. Maybe one at a time, so she doesn't feel like you're ganging up on her. When? I said. How? Now, said Jason. I think one of you should go to her room and just apologize to her face. You haven't actually tried apologizing in person yet, have you? Neither Rooney nor I said anything. That's what I thought. An idea flashed into my mind. Pip's jacket! One of us should go and give her back her jacket. Rooney snapped her head round to me. Yes, that's been in our room for like months. Want me to run back and get it? But Rooney was already flitting to her feet. Once she returned from St. John's with Pip's denim jacket in hand, Rooney demanded that she be the one to go talk to Pip. She didn't even let me argue with her. She just swung the door open, stepped outside, and said, Which way is her room? Rooney still blamed herself for the whole thing, it seemed, even though Pip had many more reasons to be angry with me. I went with her part of the way, but stopped round a corner a few meters away, so I could listen to the conversation. It was evening and dinner had finished, so hopefully Pip would be there. Rooney knocked on Pip's door. I wondered what she was going to say. Was this a terrible idea? Too late. The door opened. Alright, let's see how this is gonna go. Hi, said Rooney, and then there was a noticeable silence. What are you doing here? Asked Pip. Her voice was low. It was strange hearing Pip so genuinely sad. I hadn't heard her like that very much before all of this. I expected Rooney to launch into a big speech of some sort, to deliver a heartfelt and forceful apology. Instead, she said, your jacket. There was another silence. Okay, said Pip. Thanks. The door creaked and I peeked around the corner just as Rooney had swung out her arm to kick the door open. Wait! She cried. What? What do you want? I couldn't see Pip. She was too far inside her room. but I could tell she was getting annoyed. Now we're going to see how well this is... See, it was going so well, and now you guys are going to understand why I'm shaking my head right now. Rooney was panicking. Why is your room so messy? This was definitely the wrong thing to say. Even the book knows she messed up. You literally cannot stop yourself from making snidey comments about me, can you? Wait, hold on. You literally cannot stop yourself from making snidey comments about me, can you? Pip snapped. Wait, sorry. That's not what I... Can't you just leave me alone? I feel like you're haunting me or something. Rooney swallowed. I just wanted to say sorry. Like, properly. To your face. Oh. George is here too. She literally just did the one thing that Jason told them not to do, told her not to do. She just made it to where they're gonna have to gang up on her. Like, they're gonna have to be together now for her to gang up on her. And she's gonna feel like she's being ganged up on. Because some dumbass was like, oh yeah, this person's here too. Where is my fucking controller? There it is. And like, oh yeah, George is here too. Like, you just literally did what Jason told you not to do. Were you even paying attention, Rooney? Now it's going to be worse, and I don't even have to read the rest of this scene to know it's not going to be good. I felt my stomach drop as Rooney pointed towards where I was hiding, around the corner. This hadn't been the plan. For someone who supposedly knew a lot about romance, Rooney sure as hell didn't know how to pull off a grand gesture. Pip stepped a little way out of her room to look, her expression dark. I don't want to talk to either of you, she said, her voice cracking as she turned to go back inside. Hang on! I was surprised by my own voice leaving my mouth, and by the way I scrambled towards Pip's room. And there she was. Her hair was fluffy and unstyled, and she was wearing a hoodie and jersey shorts. Her bedroom was extremely messy, even for her. She was clearly upset. But she wasn't as angry as the other week outside the pub. Was that progress? We thought it might be better if just one of us spoke to you, I blurted. But, yeah. We're both here. And we're both really sorry for, everything that happened. Pip said nothing. She waited for us to continue, but I didn't know what else to say. That's it then? She said eventually. I'm supposed to just forgive you? We just want you to... Rooney... I'm going to read what she's about to say, and I think you guys can agree with me. She did not just help the situation. She made it a hell of a lot worse for them. Because... we just want you to come back to the Shakespeare Soch, said Rooney. But this was, again, definitely the wrong thing to say. I'm gonna take my glasses off now because it's getting to where I can't really see shit. Pip laughed. Oh my god, I should have guessed. This isn't even about me. You just need your 5th member for the fucking Shakespeare Society. Oh my god. No, that's not what... I have no idea why you care so much about your stupid play. But why the fuck would I put myself through that with someone who made me think there was tiniest chance, she liked me back, and then decided to get off with my best friend. Pip shook her head. I was right all along. You just hate me. I waited for Rooney's inevitable comeback, but it didn't come. But it didn't arrive. She blinked several times. I turned to look at her properly and realized she was about to cry. I did like, she began to say, but stopped, and her face just crumpled. Tears started falling from her eyes, and before she could say anything else, she turned abruptly and walked away. Pip and I watched her disappear around the corner. Shit, I didn't mean to make her cry, Pip mumbled. I had no idea what to say now. I almost felt like crying too. We really are sorry. We really are sorry, I said. I'm sorry. I meant everything I said in my message. It was just a weird drunk mistake. Neither of us liked each other like that. And I've apologized to Jason too. You talked to Jason? Yeah, we talked about everything. I think we're okay now. Pip said nothing to that. She just looked down at the floor. I really don't care if you don't want to come back to the Shakespeare show, I said. I just want us to be friends again. I need some time to think. Pip went to shut the door, but before she did, she said, Thanks for bringing my jacket back. So let's talk about what the just happened, okay? Let's just talk about what the just happened, okay? So Rooney messed everything up for her by saying two of the worst things she probably could have said in this situation. Now, Georgia seems to have at least gotten her to think of, and at least talk to her without the two of them seeming like they're getting into an argument. So that is a bit of progress for her and for those two. Rudy, on the other hand, needs to get her shit together. She really does need to get her shit together. Almost went a few pages too far. Beth. Rooney had stopped crying by the time I returned to our room. Instead, she was changing into going out clothes. You're going out? I asked, shutting the door behind me and flicking the light switch. She hadn't even bothered to turn the light on. Yeah, she said, pulling a Bardot top over her head. Why? Because if I stay here, she snapped, then I'll have to sit and think about everything all night, and I can't do that. I can't just sit and be with my thoughts. Who do you even go out with? Just people in college. I have other friends. Friends who don't even stop by for tea or come over for movie nights and pizza or check in with you when you're feeling rough. That's what I wanted to say. Okay, I said. Her normal bullshit was what I'd been telling myself. That was how I justified it all, really. The skipped lectures, the sleeping in until the afternoon, the clubbing every night. I didn't take any of it seriously. Really seriously. Until that night when I woke up at 5 a.m. to a message reading, Rooney Bach. Can you let me in? I'm outside college. Forgot my key. It had been sent at 3:24 a.m. The college doors were locked between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. You needed your key to get back into the main building. I often woke up in the early hours and checked my phone before very quickly going back to sleep. But this panicked me so much that I leapt out of bed and immediately called Rooney. She didn't pick up. I put on my glasses, dressing gown, and slippers, grabbed my keys, and ran out of the door. My mind suddenly filled with visions of her dead in a ditch, choked on her own vomit, or drowned in the river. God damn, Georgia, you're getting very dark with this shit. Jeez. She had to be fine. She did stupid stuff all the time, but she was always fine. The main reception hall was dark and empty as I thundered through it, unlocked the door, and ran out into the dark. Ran out into the dark. The street was empty, apart from a figure sitting on a low brick wall and a little way ahead, huddled into herself. Rooney. Alive. Thank God. Thank God. I ran up to her. She was just wearing the Bardo top and a skirt, despite the fact it had to be, like, close to freezing outside. What are you doing? I said, feeling inexplicably angry at her. She looked up at me. Oh, good. Finally. Have you just been sitting here all night? She stood up, attempting to be nonchalant, but I could see the way she was clutching her arms, trying to control her violent shivering. Only a couple of hours? I wrenched out my dressing gown and gave it to her. She wrapped it around herself without question. Couldn't you have called someone else, one of your other friends? I asked. Surely someone was awake. She shook her head. No one was awake. Well, a couple of people read my messages, but they must have ignored them. And then my phone died. Hold on a second. I'll be right back. I got a dog over here that's supposed to be in her cage in her bed. But instead, she is currently out and about. I'll be right back. I did not mean to slam that door when I shut it. That just sort of happened. But I wasn't kidding when I said there's a dog that was walking around in my room that was in the hallway, that was supposed to be. Oh, I am so sorry, Lion Blade. I did not hear you. I'm so fucking sorry, man. Shit. I was busy reading. I did not know you were here. Sorry. I am so sorry, but I hope you're doing well tonight. How you doing? And also, thank you for the compliment. I try to be a good narrator. Compared to how I was when I started this, I feel like I'm getting better at narrating. Alright. Getting back to where I was at, I know I read a paragraph, so I know where I stopped at. Getting back into the story. I was so alarmed by this that I couldn't even think of anything else to say. I was just let us back into college and we walked to our room in silence. You can't just... You need to be more careful, I said, as we entered the room. It's not safe to be out there on your own at that time. She started changing into her pajamas. She looked exhausted. Why do you care? She whispered. Why do you care? She whispered. Not in a mean way. A genuine question. Like she honestly couldn't fathom what the answer was. Why do you care about me? You're my friend, I said, standing by the door. She didn't say anything else. She just got into bed and closed her eyes. I picked up her discarded clothes from the floor and put them in her wash basket, but then realized her phone was in her skirt pocket, so I fished it out and put it on charge for her. I even poured a little bit of water into Roderick's planner. He really was looking a little perkier. Have you guys noticed this? This is actually, now that I'm thinking about this, this is really good writing with this book, actually. If you've noticed, if you were to pay attention to how she was describing Roderick the Flower, at the beginning, Roderick was doing good. He was good. He was doing all great because, she was taking good care of him, blah, 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 blah. But then when the situation kept getting worse and worse, Roderick started getting worse and worse himself. And now that things are starting to look up, Roderick is getting better. I wonder if anybody else noticed that. Like, I am starting to wonder if anybody else... If she is on Twitter, I'm gonna say that. I just read Loveless and I just noticed something about this story, and I think that's what makes it such a really good metaphor to explain when a situation is good and bad. I don't know if that was your intention, but that's what I was perceiving it now. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna see if she's on Twitter. I'm gonna tag her in a post and see if she says anything. Cause she probably may or may not be amazed, but whatever. But I just noticed that. Anyway, it's gonna be in my head now. Anyway, getting back into the story. And then I got into bed and wondered why I cared about Rooney Bach, queen of self-sabotage, the love expert who wasn't. Because I did. I really, really did care about her, despite how different we were and how we probably wouldn't have ever spoken if we hadn't been roomed together, and all the time she'd said the wrong thing or made a mess of the situation. I cared about her because I liked her. I liked her passion for the Shakespeare Society. I liked the way she'd get excited about things that didn't matter very much, like rugs or plays or college marriage. I liked the way she'd always genuinely wanted to help me, even though she'd never actually known the right thing to say or do and had given much worse advice than I'd initially realized. I thought that she was a good person and I liked having her in my life. And I was starting to realize that it was unfathomable to Rooney that someone could feel that way about her. I was woken up again 2 hours later by the sound of Rooney's phone ringing. We both ignored it. When it rang the second time, I sat up and put my glasses on. Your phone's ringing, I said, my voice croaking from sleep. Rooney had not moved. She just made a grunting noise. I rolled out of bed and stumbled over to where Rooney's phone was on charge on her bedside table and looked at the caller ID. It read, Beth. I stared at it. I felt like I should know who this was, somehow. Like I'd seen the name somewhere before. And then I realized that it was the name of a person half a meter in front of me, and the only photo Rooney had put up on the wall next to her bed. A photo that was a little crumpled from all the times it had fallen off the wall and been trodden on. The photo of 13-year-old Rooney and her best friend from school, mermaid hair Beth. I swiped to answer the call. Hello? Hi? Said the voice. Beth. What's this, Beth? The girl in the photo was with dyed red hair and freckles. Did she and Rooney still talk to each other? Maybe Rooney did have other friends who checked in on with her. I just didn't know about them. And then Beth said, I got some missed calls from this number last night, and I just wanted to check who this was, in case it's an emergency or something. I felt my mouth drop open. She didn't even have Rooney's number saved. I found myself talking. Sorry, this actually isn't my phone. This is Rooney Bach's phone. There was a pause. Rooney Bach? Yeah. I'm her uni roommate. She was pretty drunk last night, so maybe she drunk called you? Yeah, I guess. Sorry, this is really weird. I haven't seen her for, God, it must be like 5 years. I don't know why she even still has my number saved. I stared at the photo on the wall. You don't still talk to her? No. She moved to schools when we were in year 9 and we didn't really keep in contact after that. Rooney had lied. Or had she? She told me Beth was her friend. Maybe that had been true when she was younger, but it wasn't now. Why did Rooney have a photo of a friend she hadn't spoken to for 5 years on a wall? How is she? Asked Beth. She's... I blinked. She's okay. She's good. That's good. Is she still in the theater? I didn't know why, but I felt like I was going to cry. Yeah, I said. Yeah, she is. She loves theater. Oh, that's nice. She always said she wanted to be a director or something. You should... You should message her sometime, I said, trying to swallow the lump in my throat. I think she'd like a catch-up. Yeah, said Beth. Yeah, maybe I will. That'd be nice. I hoped she would. I desperately hoped she would. Well, I'll hang up then, as this isn't an emergency or anything. I'm glad Rooney's doing well. Okay, I said, and Beth ended the call. I put down Rooney's phone. Rooney herself hadn't moved. All I could see of her was the back of her head, her ponytail falling out, and the rest of her covered up by her floral duvet. Alright. We're getting in closer and closer to a big moment. Trust me when I say it's gonna be glorious. But first a drink of tea. We're not quite there yet anyway, but it's getting close. Emergency meeting. What I thought was a mask was actually a wall. Rooney had a solid brick wall around some part of her that nobody was allowed to know. She'd spent the year knocking my own wall into pieces. I deserved a chance of doing the same to her. So I called an emergency meeting of the Shakespeare Society. We were going to get Pip back, and Rooney was going to help whether she liked it or not. Damn. 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 Hold on, let me fix this real quick. Man, Georgia's not playing around tonight. She's not playing around today. It was a Saturday and we had agreed to go out for mid-morning coffee. Jason had an early rowing practice. Sunil had an orchestra rehearsal, and Rudy would not get out of bed until I slapped her on the back of the head with her agua rug. But somehow we all made it to the Vernell's Cafe by 11 o'clock. I finally knew what Vernell's was. That is a lot, said Sunil once I explained my plan. I could get Jess involved. She plays the viola. And I'll ask my rowing captain if we can borrow some stuff, said Jason, tapping his fingers over his mouth. I'm sure he'd say yes. I don't want to bother anyone, I said. The thought of other people having to help felt kind of embarrassing. No, Jess would actually be upset if I didn't ask her to take part, said Sunil. She's obsessed with stuff like this. What about Rooney? Said Jason to Rooney. What do you think? Rooney was slumped back in her chair and clearly did not want to be awake. It's good, she said, trying to sound enthusiastic, but failing dismally. Once Jason and Sunil headed off to their own things, Jason had a study group, and Sunil was meeting some friends for lunch. Rooney and I were left alone. I thought we might as well stay there and have some food since she hadn't had any breakfast, and we didn't have anything else to do. We ordered pancakes. I went for savory, she went for sweet, and chatted for a while about mundane topics like our coursework and the upcoming reading week. Eventually, though, she cut to the chase. I know why you're doing this, she said, her gaze level with mine. Doing what? Making me go out for breakfast and help you with the Pip thing? Why's that, then? You feel sorry for me. I put my knife and fork neatly into my empty plate. No, actually. Wrong. Utterly wrong. Utterly wrong. I could tell she didn't believe me. And then she said, You spoke to Beth on the phone. I froze. You were awake? Why'd you answer the phone? Why had I answered the phone? I knew most people would have just let it go to voicemail. I guess. I hope she was calling to check up on you, I said, and I didn't know how much sense that made. I just wanted Rooney to know that someone had called, that someone cared. But Beth wasn't that person. She didn't care anymore. Was she? Asked Rooney in a small voice. Calling to check up on me? I could have lied. But I didn't lie to Rooney. No, I said. She didn't have your number saved. You know what, Georgia? Let me tell you guys, okay? There's something that I've always learned when I was, as I was growing older and older. One thing that I've learned is it's better to tell the truth. It's better to hurt someone with the truth than to hurt them more with a lie. Because with the truth, it hurts, but they can at least, they can at least they can at least praise you for your honesty. Whereas if you lied, and they found out that you lied later, they're not going to be happy about the fact that they were lied to, and they're not going to like the fact that you lied to them. And I'm saying you in a general sense here, not specifically to anybody, I'm just saying. The fact of the matter is, don't lie. Don't lie. Just tell the truth as it is, even if people don't want to hear it, but they need to. Pretty much. Rooney's face dropped. She looked down on one side. She took a long gulp of apple juice. Who is she? I asked. Why do you have to do that? Rooney leaned into one hand, covering her eyes. I don't want to talk about it. That's fine. I just want you to know that you can. I ordered another drink. She sat in silence with her arms folded, seemingly trying to cram herself further into the corner of the room. It took 2 weeks of planning. In the first week, we coordinated the time and place, and Jason went on a mission to sweet-talk the captain of his rowing team into letting us use what we needed. After we sent him to barter with a 4-pack of beers. Damn. So let me get this straight. The rowing captain was like, okay, I'll let you use my boat. I'll let you get what you need. Just give me a 4-pack of beers and we'll call it even. That's funny. He returned with a smile on his face and a spare key to the boathouse, and we celebrated with pizza in Jason's bedroom. In the second week, Janelle brought Jess along to a rehearsal. Even though I didn't feel I knew her very well, having only spoken to her a couple of times, she immediately demanded to know where I'd got my jumper. It was beige with multicolored Fair Isle patterns, and we proceeded to bond at length over our shared love for patterned woolly jumpers. Jess was completely in favor of taking part in our scheme, despite the number of times I told her it was okay if she was too busy. She wanted in on this, damn it! And when she took out her viola and Sunil took out his cello, I realized why she was so keen. They clearly loved playing music together. They started running through the piece, chatting about it as they reached difficult parts, and making little notes on the sheet music. Both of them seemed different here, as opposed to at Pride Soch, but they were constantly running around, organizing everything, being the president and the vice president. Here they could just be Sunil and Jess, two best friends who liked making music. Don't worry, we'll get it perfect before Sunday, Sunil promised with a big smile on his face. Thank you, I said, but it really didn't feel like enough thanks for what they were doing. Rooney begrudgingly agreed to take control of a tambourine. The first couple of times we ran through it together, she just stood there, tapping it against her hand, looking down at the ground. But as we got closer to Sunday, she started to get a little more into it. She began bobbing on the spot as we ran through the piece. Sometimes she even sang along just a little bit, and she was sure nobody could hear her. By the end, I almost thought she was having fun. We all were, really. We were all having so much fun. And this was going to work. The night before. The night before that Sunday, Rooney did not go out. I wasn't sure why. Maybe she just didn't feel like it. But for whatever reason, she looked up from her laptop screen as I returned from the shower and asked, "Want to watch YouTube videos and eat biscuits?" I squeezed into her bed, which was, like last time, pretty uncomfortable, so I said without thinking, "What if we moved our beds together?" And Rooney said, "Why not?" So we did. We both pulled our beds into the center of the room, squishing them together to make one giant double bed, and started watching TikTok compilations while making our way through my packet of chocolate digestives. "I'm really nervous about tomorrow," I confessed halfway through the third video. My goddamn pant leg. Same, said Rooney, crunching a biscuit into her mouth. "Do you think she'll like it?" "I honestly have no idea." We didn't say anything else for a little while, and we soon finished the biscuits too. When the fourth video ended, Rooney didn't go to find a new one, so he just laid there silently in the light of the screen. After some time, maybe a few minutes, maybe longer, she asked, "Do you think it's weird I've still got that picture of Beth?" I rolled my head to face her. "No," I said. That was the truth. "I do," she said. She sounded so tired. "If she couldn't be bothered to keep in contact when you moved schools, then she doesn't deserve you," I said. I was angry at Beth, honestly. I was angry at her for making Rooney care so much about someone who didn't care about her. And just like that, Georgia, you have committed the act of assuming. Like so many other people before you, myself included, we all have a tendency to assume something just because we think we know all the facts. When in reality, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. We could not be further from the truth. That's why it's always better to know the truth than to make assumptions. Know the facts before making assumptions. Because when you make assumptions, you make an ass out of you and me. But it's more you than me for making the assumption. I'm just saying. Calm down, guys. I'm just saying. Alright? Alright, let's move on. Rooney huffed a tiny laugh into her pillow. "It wasn't her. It was me." "What do you mean?" "When I was in year 9, that's when I met my ex-boyfriend." "The horrible one?" "Yeah. There was only one boyfriend, and yet he was horrible. Not that I realized that at the time." I didn't say anything. I waited and let her tell the story. "He went to a different school. We would text each other all day, every day. I was instantly obsessed with him, and I soon decided that the best thing would be for me to move to his school." She snorted. "I just screamed at my parents until they let me move schools. I made up lies that I was being bullied, that I had no friends. As you can imagine, I was the actual worst child alive." "And Beth was from your old school?" There was a pause before Rooney said, "Beth was the only real friend I ever had. But you stopped speaking to her." "I know," said Rooney, rubbing one eye with her fist. I I thought having a boyfriend was the best thing ever. I thought I was in love. So I immediately gave everything up. Beth, everyone else I knew at school. My whole life was at that school. I had hobbies at that school. I had hobbies. Me and Beth did all the school shows. I went to the drama club. I'd always pester the head of drama to let us do a Shakespeare, and she'd always give in. I was happy. I was actually happy. Her voice quieted. And I gave it all up to be with my boyfriend. And Beth had forgotten her. Rudy had remembered. Rudy had never stopped thinking about what her life would have been like if she hadn't chosen love over everything else. She'd never stopped imagining what it would have been like to grow up with someone who really genuinely cared about her. This is a thing. I want to stop here for a moment to say this much real quick before we go on. I can already tell you that so many women have done this in the past, have done this. I don't even need to know the woman to know that women have done this in the past. Where they go for a man who may or may not care about her instead of choosing the people that genuinely do care about her. You know, and that's the one part of this whole story that's the one thing I think most people reading this could relate to, because they have done that in the past, where they have chosen, essentially, they have chosen the person that they feel they love, like they feel that they love, and who loves them back, over the people who genuinely care about them. And ultimately, it would be revealed that the person that you loved and you thought loved you back genuinely didn't. So many people, men and women alike, have gone through that. Have gone through that whole thing. I actually know one person that actually lived a life that I feel like would be similar to this. I'm not going to say names for personal reasons, but I do think that person kind of resonates with what I just read here and what I just said. Alright? And if anybody dares to try to ask me what's the name of this person you're talking about, I'm gonna delete that comment. So don't ask. Alright? Alright. My life was just horrible throughout the 3 years we dated. Well, I say dated if you're not counting the 10 billion times he broke up with me, then decided we should get back together. And all the times he cheated on me. Rudy's eyes were damp. He decided everything. He decided when we would go to parties. He decided we should start drinking and smoking and going to clubs using fake IDs. Against the law, by the way, before I continue. He decided when we should have sex. And I just kept thinking, as long as was happy, then I must be living my dream. This was love. He was my soulmate. This was what everyone wanted. So we go from a person who gave up everything to be with a person, and now she's telling us she was in an abusive relationship, so to speak. Because it seems like he was taking advantage of her, and she was willing to go along with it for one reason or another. If I didn't know any better, I'd say that's some form of mental abuse. And this had gone on for 3 years? It took everything for me to break up with him. A single tear rolled down her cheek and onto the pillow. Because breaking up with him meant accepting that I'd made a really, really bad mistake. It meant accepting that this was completely my fault, and I had fucked up my own life. I'd lost my best friend for nothing, and I could have been so happy, but love ruined me. She broke down. She just started crying and she couldn't stop, so I held her. I wrapped my arms around her and I held her tight and wanted to kill the guy who had done this to her, who was probably out there living his life and not giving a single fucking thought to any of this. I wanted to rewind time and give her the life she deserved because I loved her and she was a good person. I knew she was a good person. It's not your fault, I whispered. You have to believe that. She wiped frantically at her eyes, which didn't help much. Sorry, she said hoarsely. This always happens when I talk about stuff. I don't mind you crying, I said. I hate the idea of people knowing me because surely then they'll hate me over the same way I hate myself. But I don't, I said. I don't hate you. I don't hate you. She didn't reply. She kept her eyes closed. And I don't know when we both fell asleep, but we did, tangled up like that in our makeshift double bed. And I knew there was no easy way to fix this, but I hoped she felt safe. At least. Maybe I would never be able to replace Beth, and maybe Rooney would take a long time to dig her way out of these feelings, and maybe there was nothing I could do to help at all. But I hoped she felt safe with me. Georgia did absolutely everything right here. Alright guys, we're in the build-up. The penultimate chapter before the greatest thing that when I first read it made me just be so fucking excited. Oh man, you're gonna love this. Not me slurping, but what I just said. But what I'm... The next two the chapter after this one I'm about to read, you guys are gonna probably love this one. Your song. Sunday arrived when I was wearing a full suit and tie, borrowed from one of Sunil's and Jess's friends, as I didn't own anything nearly this cool myself, staring down at a rowing boat. It wasn't one of the racing boats. It was a wider, made for casual trips down the river, so we'd all actually fit in with the instruments. And it'd be unlikely that anyone would fall out. But I was still starting to feel like this was a terrible idea. This was a terrible idea, I said to Jason. This sounded like... This sounds like one of those comedic moments where you read something where it's like... But I was still starting to feel like this was a terrible idea. This is a terrible idea, I said to Jason, who was standing next to me at the riverbank, wearing a large, bright yellow life jacket over his own suit and tie. It was a look. The reason why I find that kind of funny is because when they do something like that, it can make a moment, even a serious moment, kind of funny. For an example, there was a moment that I was watching. It was a video by the channel Oversimplified, and he was talking about this, the beginning of he was talking about the events that led to the American Revolution, because he was talking about the American Revolution at the time. But one of the moments is where he talks about the French and Indian War, and after all that happens, he does the scene like this, where he's like, "Okay, we surrender. All right, guys, pack up. There's surrender." Oh, I'm sorry. Was I not meant to split his head open with a tomahawk? Oh, don't worry. I'm sure this will not cause us. I'm sure this won't. I'm sure this may or may not cause us. How did it go again? Um. Shit. My thing just died. I'm gonna turn my thing on real quick. It's like, don't worry. I'm sure this won't cause a 7 year long major global conflict. And what started next was a 7 year long major global conflict. it was it's a serious moment, obviously, but with comedic effect, it made it he made the whole thing kind of funny for the brief talking that he did of it. But of course, no war is funny. Obviously not. But sometimes when you talk about something, it can be unintentionally funny, like what I just said there. It can happen. Yeah, it can always happen. Anyway, it's not a terrible idea, he said. It's a very good idea. I've changed my mind. I want to die. Is it the boat you're afraid of, or what happens after we all get in the boat? All of the above. I regret that a boat was ever involved. Jason swung an arm around me and gave me a squeeze. I rested my head against him. You can do this, okay? I mean, you're absolutely fucking insane for doing this, but this is literally going to go down in history. Honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if it went viral. I shot him a panicked look. I do not want this to go viral. I want to do this and then never think about it again. No one is allowed to post this on YouTube. she is like, nope. He's like, it's gonna go viral. And she's like, not my watch. Okay, it won't go viral. We can forget this day ever happened. Thank you. Life jacket? Yes, please. He helped me into a life jacket. Bright purple. Rooney approached us also in a suit, with a navy life jacket on, holding her tambourine. You ready? She asked. No, I said. Sunil and Jess were behind us, instruments in hand. Sunil shot me a strong thumbs up. Everything will be fine, said Sunil. And if it's not, said Jess, at least we'll have had fun. Now get in the fucking boat, since she's down. Jason. Now get in the fucking boat, said Jason. I sighed and got in the fucking boat. That's really funny. Now get in the fucking boat, said Jason. I sighed and got in the fucking boat. That's kind of funny. That is really funny to me. That is really funny. Again, comedy right there. That is some comedic gold right there. I like it. We had spoken to one of the few people I knew was friends with Pip. Or rather, Jason had. Was friends with him on Facebook and had messaged him asking if he could get Pip to arrive at Elvet Bridge at 5 o'clock exactly, roughly the time the sun would start to set. The guy agreed. I'd done 7 school shows and 4 youth theater productions. I'd gone to university 300 miles away from home. I'd agreed to share a room with a stranger. I'd gone clubbing for the first time despite knowing I'd hate it, and I'd come out to 4 whole people. Somehow, none of that was as scary as this. But I was going to do this for Pip, to show her that I loved her. Jason, who I realized suddenly had built up a lot of muscle strength since joining the rowing club, rowed the 5 of us down the river. It wasn't far from St. John's to Elvet Bridge, but we started to draw a lot of attention as we approached the town center, rowing along in our suits and ties with musical instruments stored cautiously at our feet. There was absolutely no need to do this from a boat other than for dramatic effect, and I was regretting it a little. But overall, I knew that Pip would love this. Pip loved anything that was a little ridiculous and theatrical. The others were all laughing and gabbing excitedly, which I was glad for, because I was so nervous I couldn't even talk. It was freezing too, but at least the adrenaline was keeping me warm. The bridge slowly approached from the distance. Sunil kept checking his watch to make sure we were on time. "Nearly there," said Jason murmured from behind me. I turned to him, feeling comforted by his presence. "It's going to be amazing," he said. "Yeah?" "Yeah." I tried out a little smile. "Thanks for helping," Jason shrugged. "We're friends." I grinned. "Let me know if you need any help with any elaborate platonic gestures of your own." "I will." And when I turned back and looked up at the bridge, Pip was there. Her eyes were wide behind her glasses. The winter wind was whipping her hair into a mess of dark curls. She was bundled in a thick puffer jacket, standing next to her friend who, thankfully, had brought her there on time. She was looking down at me, mouth open, absolutely baffled. I just grinned. I couldn't help it. "Hi!" I called up to her. And then she grinned back and shouted, "What the fuck?" I turned to everyone on the boat. Sunil, Jets, and Rooney had picked up their instruments ready to begin. They were waiting for me. "Ready?" I said. They nodded. I counted them in. And then, with three accompanists, I stood on a boat on the River Weir and sang Your Song, the version specifically from Moulin Rouge, to Pip Quintana, who didn't yet know me as well as I wished she did, but despite that, was one of my favorite people I had ever met. Alright guys, are you ready? Here comes the best moment of the book in my book. Let's do it. The opposite of curious. We didn't actually perform the full 3 minutes and 39 seconds of Your Song, instead keeping it to a safe 90 seconds so the whole thing didn't become too embarrassing and awkward for anyone involved. But I was probably still going to look back on this and cringe for the rest of my life. When the song ended, we'd drawn quite a large crowd of onlookers from Durham's town center, and Pip's smile was so wide and bright that all I could think about was that she looked like the sun. Our performance had done its job. Jason nudged me in the side. I looked at him, feeling how much my face was burning. "What?" You need to ask the question." "Oh yeah." I grabbed the megaphone we'd brought with us from the bottom of the rowing boat, carefully, so I didn't just fall into the river, which was becoming an ever-increasing danger by this point, and held it up. "Pip Quintana!" I said, and it came out so loud through the megaphone that I made myself jump. Pip looked incredibly flustered and still did not seem to know what was going on. "Yes?" I'm so happy right now. I'm very happy right now. I'm so happy. I'm trying to get into reading this part because it's so cute. Oh my god. "Will you be my college wife?" The look on her face told me that she was not expecting that question. Then she smacked her palm onto her forehead. She realized. "Yes!" she shrieked at me. "And I hate you!" And then people just started applauding. All the random people who'd paused on the bridge and by the river to watch. A lot of students, but also local residents of Durham too, clapped and a few of them cheered. It was a whole thing. Like in a movie. I prayed none of them had filmed it. And then Pip started to cry. Oh, fuck, I said. Jason? Yes? She's crying. Yes, she is. I started patting Jason on the arm. We need to get to shore. Jason grabbed the oars. On it. When we got to shore, Pip had already run down the steps from the bridge, made her way down the path and onto the grassy riverbank, and when I got out of the boat, she ran into me and hugged me so aggressively that I stumbled backwards, fell, and suddenly both of us were sitting waist deep in the river Wear. Somehow, it didn't seem to matter at all. Why are you like this? Was the first thing Pip said to me, furiously rubbing tears from her eyes. New ones replacing them just as fast. Like, what? I asked, genuinely confused. Pip shook her head, sitting back from me a little. This! She laughed. I never would have done something like this. I'm too much of a dumbass. You're not a dumbass. Oh, I am. Big, big dumbass. You're talking to someone who is waist deep in a river in February right now. She grinned. Shall we continue this conversation elsewhere? That would be nice. We ended up... That's so nice, man. Oh, man, that is so good. That is so great. I love that. I love that moment so much. It's not even funny. We ended up getting back into the boat. With Pip this time. And rowing all the way back to St. John's. Pip was so excited by this that she nearly capsized the boat, and it took Jason and me quite a lot of effort to convince her to sit down and stay still, but we made it to college without any accidents. Rudy sat right at the back, trying not to look at Pip. I noticed Pip glancing back a few times, almost like she might say something to her, but she didn't. Before we all disbanded on the college green, I thanked everyone for helping me. All in the spirit of love, replied Sunil, swinging an arm round Jess. He was right, I supposed. All of this was for love, in one way or another. Pip and Rudy finally acknowledged each other's existence when Pip said, You were good on the tambourine. She'd meant it as a genuine compliment, but somehow it sounded like an insult. Rudy just said, Thank you, and then mumbled something about having someone to meet in town, tore off her life jacket and left before Pip could say anything else. The last person to say goodbye was Jason. He gave me a tight hug, then walked away, the bottom of his trousers damp and water droplets on his sleeves. And then it was just Pip and me. Sorry, getting a little bit carried away and looking at the future parts of the book. Sorry. It didn't even need to be said that Pip would stay and talk with me at afternoon. She just did. It reminded me of the way we were the first year we met. Age 11. That was the year we went everywhere with each other, trying to figure out if there was anyone that we could invite into our inner circle, and eventually realizing that, for now, it was just us. I took her up to my bedroom. Rooney wasn't there. She really had gone into town, and I had a feeling she wouldn't be back for a while. But our beds were still pushed together. The sheets unmade and everything from last night came back in a sudden rush. Rooney's confession, the tears. I realized suddenly that this was probably not the best impression to give Pip, who had been angry at me and Rooney because she thought we were an item. I said, this is not... We weren't... I know, said Pip. She smiled at me, and I knew then that she believed me. Hey, has Roderick shrunk? She walked over to Roderick and crouched down. Despite the amount of leaves I had had to cut off, he actually seemed to have grown since I last watered him. Maybe he wasn't totally dead after all. Pip shivered suddenly, which was then when I remembered that both she and I were pretty much drenched from the waist down. I took out a pair of joggers for her and some pajamas for me, and when I turned round, Pip was practically ripping her jeans from her legs in her haste to get out of them. My joggers were comically long on Pip, but she'd roll them up, and soon we were huddled on the carpet, our backs against the side of the bed, with mugs of hot chocolate and a blanket over our legs. I knew I needed to be the first to say something about everything that had happened, but I was still so bad at having deep conversations or talking about my emotions in any way that it took a few minutes of Pip chatting aimlessly about her course and her nights out with friends before I said what I really wanted to say, which was, I'm sorry. I know I've already said that, but yeah, I really am. Pip looked at me. Oh, she said. Yeah. I completely understand you not talking to me after the whole thing at the Bailey Ball, I continued, not quite able to look her in the eye. I'm sorry for, what happened. It was a shitty thing to do, for several reasons. Pip said nothing for a moment. Then she turned away and nodded. Thanks for saying that, she said, awkwardly flattening her curls. I think I knew right away that it was a mistake for both of you, but yeah, it still hurt. Yeah. She looked up at me right in the eyes. Okay, we're being honest, right? Yeah, of course. Well, I did like Rooney. I really did. She tilted her head back. I know I never outright said it, but I didn't want to admit it to myself. But you knew, right? I mean, you said you knew. I had known. That's what made the situation so awful. Yeah, I said. I didn't want to admit it because, she laughed. I am so fucking done with liking straight girls. Literally my whole teenage life, I spent pining after straight girls, maybe getting, one kiss from a slightly curious girl who immediately goes back to her boyfriend, and then I come to uni, hoping to finally meet a solid range of other queer girls, and I just immediately fall for a straight girl again. She smacked her forehead with one hand. Why am I the actual dumbest gay alive? I grinned. I couldn't help it. Shut up, said Pip, also grinning. I know, I was doing so well. I joined Pride Social and Lat Am Soch, and I even went to a couple of those stupid Ultimate Frisbee games, but, I was still making those same mistakes. Then when you and her kissed, it just felt like the biggest betrayal from both of you. I hugged her. Tight. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She hugged me back. I know. We stayed like that for a long time. Then she said, I just don't understand why the kiss happened. I don't think I've ever been so genuinely shocked by anything in my life. I felt myself go a bit red. Didn't Rooney explain? To be honest, I was so pissed off that I barely listened to what she was saying. She hopped out and laughed. And by the time I calmed down, it was kind of too late. Oh, Pip looked at me. Georgia, I don't want to force you to talk about anything that you don't want to talk about. Like, that's not what people should do to anyone, especially their friends, and especially about things like sexuality. Her voice grew softer. But I at least want you to know that you can talk to me about it if you want to, and I promise I would understand. I felt frozen. She knew something was up. She'd known for ages, probably. I don't know whether you'd understand, I said in a very small voice. Pip paused, then let out a short, exasperated chuckle. I'm not sure if you're aware of this fact, Georgia War, but I am an exceptionally humongous lesbian with a lifetime of experience in gay thoughts. I laughed. I know, I was there all through your Keira Knightley phase. Um, my Keira Knightley phase is still ongoing, thank you very much. I've still got that poster in my room at home. Still? I can't throw it away. It represents my gay awakening. You can't throw it away because she's hot, you mean? Maybe so. We both grinned, but I didn't know where to go from there. Should I just say it? Should I find an article for her to read? Should I just drop this whole topic because she'd never understand? So, said Pip, twisting her body around so she was facing me. Keira Knightley. Thoughts? I snorted. Are you asking me whether I fancy Keira Knightley? Yup. Oh, so this is how we're doing it. Well, no. What about girls in general? Pip held her mug in front of her mouth, staring at me with quiet cautiousness. No, I murmured. I guess I was sure about that now, but it still felt almost impossible to admit. For Pip, at least, it would probably have been easier to understand if I did like girls. So, the thing with Rooney, Pip looked down. Were you just curious, or... Curious. I wanted to laugh. I was, and always had been, the opposite of curious. Desperate is the word I would use, I said before I could stop myself. Pip frowned, confused. Desperate for what? Desperate to like someone. I looked at Pip. Anyone. Why? She whispered. Because I don't. I can't. I can't like anyone. Not boys, not girls, not anyone. I ran a hand over my hair. I can't. I never will. I waited for the words that would inevitably follow. You don't know that. You'll meet someone one day. You just haven't met the right person. But all she said was, oh. She nodded slowly in that way she did when she was thinking hard about something. I was just going to have to say the words. It's called aromantic asexual, I said on an exhale. Oh, she said again. I waited for her to say something more, but she didn't. She just sat there, thinking really hard. Thoughts? I said, letting out a nervous laugh. Do I need to look it up on Wikipedia for you? Pip snapped out of her little thought bubble and looked at me. No. No Wikipedia needed. I get that it sounds weird. I could feel myself going red. Would I ever stop feeling embarrassed about explaining this to people? It's not weird. It sounds weird, though. It... No, it doesn't. It does. Georgia. Pip smiled, a little exasperated. You're not weird. She was the first person who'd said that to me. I hated that I still felt sometimes underneath it all that I wasn't normal. But maybe getting over that would take time. Maybe, little by little, I could start to believe that I was okay. A bit wordy though, isn't it? Pip continued, leaning back onto the side of the bed. 8 whole syllables. Bit of a mouthful. Some people call it Arrow Ace for short. Oh, that's better. That sounds like a character from Star Wars. She made a dramatic gesture with one hand. Arrow Ace. Defender of the universe. Okay, I hate that. Come on, you like space. No. We were just joking, but I sort of wanted to scream. Take me seriously! She could tell. Sorry, she said. I don't know how to talk about serious things without making it into a joke. I nodded. Yeah, it's fine. Did you feel like that all through school? Yeah, I wasn't really aware of it though, I shrugged. Just thought I was super picky, and my fake feelings for Tommy were a bit of a red herring. Pip rested her head against my sheets, waiting to hear more. I guess I always felt like uncomfortable when I tried to have feelings for anyone. Like it just felt wrong and awkward. Like what happened with Jason. I knew I didn't like him like that because when we tried to do anything romantic, it just felt wrong. Excuse me. But I guess I thought that everyone felt like that and I just needed to keep trying. Can I ask a dumb question? Pip interrupted. Yeah? This is going to sound bad, but, like, how do you know you won't find someone one day? Now, for the record, for those of you that don't know, Arrow Ace is aromantic and asexual. Aromantic means having little to no romantic feelings toward anybody, and asexual means having little to no sexual thoughts with anyone. Like having little to no sexual reaction to anyone, I guess would be the proper term for it. Now, it should be duly noted, there's the key word in that is little or little to none. That means it is possible they could find someone, but the odds of that happening are slim. And personally, I would not have a problem with anybody in that group at all. I think the only person that I knew of that was Arrow 8, the first time I ever heard of this was Jaden Animations. I'm going to say it again. Jaden Animation, I know I talked about this before, but I'm going to say it again. But Jaden Animations made a video and basically said that she was Arrow Ace. And personally, I had no issues with that. She is not straight, but she is part of the LGBTQ plus community, and even then I wouldn't have a problem with her, because by this point I've already been a supporter of her channel for many years. I may not always comment on her videos, but I do watch them all the way through because I enjoy them every time I watch them. My personal favorite video of hers that she made was the video where she talked about speedrunning Cooking Mama 2 Dinner with Friends. I don't know what it is about that video, but I think it's because of how everything was animated, how her editing was done. I loved everything about that video. That is my favorite video out of all the ones that she's done. And trust me, there are many that are very close with, that are in that whole group of circle with that video that I do like. But that Cooking Mama video of hers is the best one of hers that I like so much. Honestly. Anyway. This was the question that had been plaguing me for months. Again, the question was from Pip to Georgia. This is going to sound bad, but, like, how do you know you won't find someone one day? This was the question that had been plaguing me for months. But when Pip asked me it then, I realized I knew the answer. Finally. Because I know myself. I know what I feel and what I have the capability to feel, I think. I smiled weakly at her. I mean, how do you know you won't fall for a guy one day? Pip made a face. I laughed. Yeah, exactly. You just know that about yourself, and now I know too. There was a pause, and I could hear my own heart thumping in my chest. God, I couldn't wait until talking about this didn't give me high adrenaline and nervous sweats. Suddenly, Pip slammed her empty mug down on her carpet and cried. I can't believe neither of us really realized this earlier. For fuck's sake! Why the fuck are we like this? I picked up her mug, slightly alarmed, and put it safely out of the way on my bedside table. What do you mean? She shook her head. We were literally going through the same thing at the same time, and neither of us realized. Were we? Were we? Well, I mean, with some minor details changed. Like the fact that you like girls? Yes, like that. But apart from that, we were both trying to force ourselves to like guys. We were both struggling with the fact that we didn't have crushes on the people we were supposed to. We were both feeling, I don't know, weird and different. And neither of us liked guys. And, oh my god, I was the one coming to you like, oh no, sad, I think I'm gay and I don't know what to do. All the while, you were in such an intense state of repression that you literally thought you were straight despite the fact that doing anything with guys made you want to vom. Oh, I said. Yeah. Yeah! Are we both dumbasses? I think we are, Georgia. Oh no. Yes. That's the takeaway from this conversation. Great. And then Pip started to laugh, and that made me laugh too. And then we were laughing hysterically, the sound echoing around the room, and I couldn't remember the last time Pip and I had laughed together like this. That's so funny. That is so funny. My goodness, that's so funny. We had missed dinner, so we decided to have a little picnic with all the snacks I kept in my room, of which there were plenty. We sat on the floor and ate supermarket brand cookies, a half-empty family-sized packet of caramelized onion crisps, and bagels that were definitely almost stale, while watching Moulin Rouge, of course. I kind of want to watch that movie now. I don't even know if any... I'm going to have to look that up later. I'm going to see if that movie is on a streaming site. A streaming service, I should say. And you know what I mean. Netflix, Hulu, Discovery Plus, even though it's probably not going to be on there. Disney Plus, Max, things like that. Yeah. Anyway. It was similar to last night, watching YouTube videos with Rooney. If I could spend every night of my life eating snacks and watching something silly in a giant bed with one of my best friends, I'd be happy. My future still terrified me, but everything seemed a little brighter when my best friends were around. We didn't talk anymore about identities and romance and feelings until the film had nearly finished, and when we'd moved on to the bed and had been curled up in my bed sheets in silence for the better part of an hour. I was dangerously close to falling asleep. But then Pip spoke, her voice soft and quiet in the low light of the room. "Why did you college propose to me?" Pip asked. There had been a lot of reasons I'd wanted to make a big gesture. I'd wanted to cheer her up. I'd wanted her to be my friend again. I'd wanted to make things right. I was sure Pip knew all those things too. But maybe she needed to hear it out loud. "Because I love you," I said. "And you deserve magical moments like that." Pip stared at me. Then her eyes filled with tears. She leaned onto one hand, covering her eyes. "You fucking dick. I'm not drunk enough to cry while having emotional conversations with my friends." "I'm not sorry." "You should be. Where the fuck are your tears?" "I don't cry in front of anyone, my dude. You know this." "I'm making it my new mission in life to make you cry with emotion." "Good luck with that." "It's going to happen." "Sure." "I hate you." I grinned at her. "I hate you too." Hmm. Hmm. Alright. How much further we got in this here? Hold on a second. So I got 5 more chapters left to read. It's already 2 o'clock in the morning. So I know by the time I get done reading this part... Part 5 is actually not that long. So I'll probably do it to where I'll be reading part 5, and then I'll be reading a short story that's alongside it to make it work, because it kind of does go into what happened between two characters in particular. But we'll get to that when we get to it. For now, we got a part to finish. Mess. I woke up groggily the next morning to the sound of the bedroom door opening, and when I raised my head, I was unsurprised to find Rooney creeping in wearing last night's clothes, the full suit she'd worn as part of the proposal. This was a relatively normal occurrence by this point, but what was not normal was the way Rooney froze in the middle of her aqua rug and stared at the space next to me on the double bed, Rooney's side, which was occupied by a quick Quintana. Pip and I had been chatting so much last night that by the time Pip realized she should probably go back to her own college, it was bordering on midnight, so I'd lent her some pajamas and she'd stayed over. Both of us had utterly forgotten about the fact that things could be quite awkward between Pip and Rooney if they were in the same room. And there were a very obvious few seconds of silence. And then I said, "Morning." Rooney said nothing for a moment, and then started very slowly taking off her shoes and said, "Morning." I felt movement next to me and turned to look, grabbing my glasses from my bedside table. Pip was awake, her own glasses already on. "Oh," she said, and I could see the color filling her cheeks. Sorry, We probably should have asked you if... It's fine, Rooney squawked, turning away from us and rummaging frantically in her toiletries bag for a packet of makeup wipes. You can stay over if you want. Yeah, but this is your room too. I don't really care! Pip sat up. Okay. She started clambering out of the bed. I should probably go anyway. I've got a lecture this morning. I frowned. Hang on, it's like 7 a.m. Yeah, well, I need to wash my hair and stuff, so... You don't have to leave because of me, said Rooney from the other side of the room. She was facing away from us, scrubbing her face with a makeup wipe. It's not because of you, said Pip much too quickly. Both of them were, they were getting loud to the point where they're panicking, yeah. The both of them were panicking. Rooney started changing into her pajamas just to give herself something to do. Pip began to gather up her own clothes from yesterday, while determinedly keeping her eyes averted from Rooney, who was now just wearing pajamas shorts. I really, really wanted to laugh, but for both their sakes, kept my mouth shut. Pip spent much longer than she needed to gathering her belongings, and thankfully, by the time she dared to turn around, Rooney had a pajama top on and was sitting at her desk, attempting to look casual by scrolling through her phone. Well, Pip looked at me almost disoriented. I'll see you later? Yeah, I said. I clenched my lips together so that I didn't laugh. Pip went to leave the room, but suddenly looked down at the pile of clothes she had in her hand and said, Oh shit, I think these aren't mine? She pulled out a pair of leggings with the words St. John's College on them. Rooney. Rooney glanced over, feigning nonchalance. Oh yeah, those are mine. She held out a hand. Oh my god. This is completely awkward between these two, man. Jeez. Pip had no choice but to approach Rooney and hand them over. Rooney's eyes stayed focused on Pip's abs and... No, that's not it. What the fuck? Hold on, let me rephrase that. Hold on, let me rephrase that. That's not where she was looking, I swear. I just read the word wrong. We're moving on. Oh, thank God nobody was watching that. People be having a field day with that right now. It happens sometimes. Don't at me. Anyway. Rooney's eyes stayed focused on Pip's as she slowly approached. Pip held out the leggings and dropped them into Rooney's open hand from a height that suggested she was nervous to put her hand anywhere near Rooney's skin. Thanks, said Rooney. An awkward smile. No problem. Pip hovered next to Rooney's desk. So, were you out last night, or... Clearly, Rooney was not expecting this. She clenched the leggings in her hand and said, Oh, yeah, I was just... Me and some friends went out to Whiff-Laugh and then stayed in their room. Rooney pointed out of the window. In a different building. I couldn't be asked to walk back here. Pip nodded. Cool. Whiff-Laugh. That's the table tennis bar, right? Yeah. That sounds fun. Yeah, it was good. It gets so competitive, though. Pip smiled. Yeah, I know. From the look on her face, the statement seemed to shake Rooney to her core. Yes, said Rooney, strained after a long pause. So, you and Georgia had a sleepover? Oh yeah, Pip suddenly blanched. I mean, just a platonic sleepover. Obviously, we didn't... Georgia's not... I know, said Rooney quickly. Georgia's not into sex. Pip, you are making this situation more and more awkward by the minute, the more you keep talking. I'm just saying, okay? Pip's mouth twitched. Rooney using the word sex seemed to have sent Pip into another level of panic. George is right here, I said, literally unable to keep this giant smile off my face by this point. Pip stepped back, her cheeks tinged red. Anyway, yeah. I'd better go. Rooney looked dazed. Okay. Well, it was nice to, yeah. Yeah. Pip opened her mouth to say something more, then shot a panicked glance towards me, and then she was out of the room without another word. We waited a few seconds until we heard the door at the end of the corridor shut. And then Rooney exploded. If you guys... I don't know how loud this microphone is, but if you're wearing headphones, you may or may not want to turn your volume down so that way I don't, hurt your ears with what I've got to say, because there are some caps lock, and I do gotta shout because of this. Are you fucking kidding? Hold on, sorry. Are you fucking joking me, Georgia? Could you not have done me the tiniest courtesy of warning me that the girl I liked was going to be here when I got back? She started pacing back and forth. Do you think I would have waltzed in here wearing fucking last night's clothes with last night's makeup smeared all over my fucking face had I known that Pip Quintana was going to be here with the most fucking adorable bedhead I have ever seen in my fucking life? You're gonna wake up the whole corridor, I said, but she didn't even seem to hear me. Rudy collapsed in onto her side of the bed face first. What sort of impression am I supposed to make wandering back into my own college room at 7 a.m. like I've just been out fucking some person I never want to speak to again? Were you? I asked. She lifted her head and gave me a sharp look. No! For fuck's sake! I haven't done that since before the Bailey Ball. I shrugged. Thought I'd check. She rolled onto her back, spreading out her limbs as if willing herself to mount into the sheets. I'm a mess. So is Pip, I said. You're kind of made for each other. Rooney made a low grunting sound. Don't give me false hope. She's never going to like me after what I did. Do you want my opinion? No. Okay. Wait, yes. Yes, I do. Pip likes you back, and I think you should actually try talking to her normally again. She rolled onto her front. Absolutely... hold on. She rolled onto her front. Absolutely impossible. If you're going to offer ideas, please offer realistic ones. Why is that impossible? Because I'm shit and she deserves better. I can't fall in love anyway. I'll get over this. Pip should be with a nicer person. With a nice person. The way she said it, light and casual, I could have easily mistaken it for a joke. But because I understood Rooney on a slightly deeper level by this point, I knew she wasn't joking at all. Dude, I said, I'm the one who can't fall in love. I think you just don't want to. She made a humph noise. Well? I asked. Are you aromantic? No, she grumbled. There. So stop erasing my identity and tell Pip you like her. Don't use your identity to make me admit my feelings. I can, and I will. Did you see her bedhead? Rooney mumbled into her pillow. Yes? She looked so fluffy. She'd probably murder you if you called her fluffy. I'm going to assume it's because she watches Gabriel Iglesias. If you know why, you know why I said that. I bet she smells really nice. She does. Fuck you. We were interrupted by notification sounds from both of our phones. A message in our Shakespeare Social group chat. The one that hadn't been used since before the new year. A Midsummer Night's Dab. Philippa Quintana. Forgot to say, I would like to rejoin the Shakespeare Soch. If you'll have me, I can learn my lines in 2 weeks. We lay there on the bed, reading the messages at the same time. We're doing the play, said Rooney breathlessly. I didn't know whether she was thrilled or terrified. Are you okay with that? I asked. I thought this was what she'd wanted. She'd been devastated when Pip and Jason had left, and the society crumbled. It had sent her spiraling for weeks. Rooney was so good at pretending she was fine. Even now I sometimes failed to spot when she was spiraling, and after her breakdown the other night and the situation with Pip, and all the feelings I knew she was fighting, and the ones I was still dealing with too. Were we going to be okay? I don't know, she said. I don't know. Alright, we are now down to 4 chapters before the end of part 4. I'm gonna have to, like I said before, I'm gonna have to edit the title so that way it fits with the part 4, because at this point I actually put it as 3.2 or 4.1. I think I put it at 4.1, and without realizing I already did a 4.1 about a week or two ago. But that's for later. This is now. We kept the beds together. Against my will, said Pip, rolling her eyes while leaning against a pillow that I had spent the whole morning crafting out of cardboard and paper mache. I am sent to bid you come in to dinner. Rooney was lounging on a chair center stage. Fair Beatrice, she said, standing up with a flirty expression. I thank you for your pains. We had 10 days left. We had 10 days until the play. This was definitely not enough time to finish staging all of the scenes, learn all of our lines, and prepare costumes and set. But we were trying anyway. Pip's expression remained unbothered. I took no more pains for those thanks than you take pains to thank me. If it had been painful, I would not have come. Rooney stepped closer, slotting her hands into her pockets and smirking down at Pip. You take pleasure then in the message? Before today's rehearsal, Rooney had spent a solid 20 minutes changing outfits and doing her hair before I straight up asked, Is this about Pip? She denied it loudly and at length before saying, Yes, fine. What do I do? It had taken me a moment to realize that she was asking for my help with romance. Just as I had done all those months ago in Freshers Week. Yeah, just as much as you may take upon a knife's point and choke a doll withal. Pip scoffed back, folding her arms. You have no stomach, Signor. Fare you well. And then she turned and whisked off stage. Me, Jason, and Sunil clapped. That was good, Pip said, a smile on her face. That was good, right? And I didn't forget the chokador bit. You were okay, said Rooney, eyebrows raised. I had given Rooney all the advice I could think to give. Be yourself. Talk to her. Maybe try saying nice things sometimes. Well, she was trying, at least. That means a lot coming from you, said Pip, and Rooney turned away so we couldn't see her expression. "5 days before the play, we ran through the entire thing. We messed up several cues. Jason smacked his head on the top of the papier-mâché pillar, and I completely blanked my final speech from A Midsummer Night's Dream, but eventually we made it to the end, and it wasn't a complete disaster." "We actually did it," said Pip, her eyes wide as we all finished clapping for each other. "Like we might possibly pull this off." "Don't sound so surprised," Rooney scoffed. "I am actually a good director." "Excuse me, we are co-directors. I get some of the credit." "No, incorrect. I removed your directorship when you decided to abandon us for 2 months." Pip's mouth dropped open and she whipped her head round to me to see my reaction. "Is she allowed to joke about that yet? Surely we're not at the point where we can joke about our feud yet." "I can joke about what I want," said Rooney. I was busy stacking chairs. "I'm not getting involved," I said. "Joking or not, good idea, Georgia." "No," said Pip, turning back to Rooney. "I refute this. I want my co-directorship back." "You're not having it," said Rooney, who had started pushing the pillar to one side of the room. Pip walked right up to Rooney and poked her on the arm. "Too bad! I'm taking it back!" She went to poke her again, but Rooney ducked around the pillar and said, "You'll have to..." "Hey, what the fucking..." Where the heck did it go? It's over there. Can you see it? Right. You can see that white thing right there. That's a bug just happened to fly in my room. I don't think it's gonna hurt anything. Fuck it. I'll deal with it later. I'm gonna deal with you later, bug. Be prepared for that. Anyway. Going back to the story. Excuse me. She went to poke her again, but Rooney ducked around the pillar and said, "You'll have to fight for it then." Pip followed her, increasing the speed of her poke so that she was basically tickling Rooney. "Maybe I will." Rooney tried to bat her away, but Pip was too fast, and soon Pip was basically chasing her around the room, both of them shrieking and swatting at each other. They were smiling and laughing so much that it made me smile, even though I still wasn't sure whether Rooney was really okay. We hadn't spoken again about what she told me that night we moved the beds, about Beth and her ex-boyfriend in her teenage life, but we kept the beds together. We rehearsed our play, and we ate in the cafeteria, and Rooney stopped going out at night. We sat together in lectures and walked to and from the library in the cold, and we watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Shout out to any Brooklyn Nine-Nine fans watching this stream, VOD, whatever. One Saturday morning until noon, buried in the covers. I waited for her to break again, for her to run away from me. But she didn't. And still, we kept the beds together. She took down the photo of Beth. She didn't throw it away. She just put it inside one of her notebooks where it could stay safe. We should take more photos, I thought. Then she'd have something else to stick on the wall. I felt that there was something we weren't saying. Something we hadn't addressed. I had figured out who I was, and she had told me who she'd been, but I could feel that there was something more, and I didn't know whether it was her keeping things inside or whether it was me. Perhaps both. I didn't even know whether it was something we needed to talk about. Sometimes I woke up in the night and couldn't go back to sleep because I started thinking about the future, terrified, having no idea what it would look like for me now. Sometimes Rooney would wake up too, but she wouldn't say anything. She would just lie there, shuffling a little under the duvet. It was comforting when she did wake up, though, when she was just there, awake with me. It all came to a head the night before the play. Me, Pip, and Rooney gathered together for one final rehearsal in Pip's bedroom. Sunil, who was an expert at speeches, had memorized everything weeks ago, and Jason had always been quick to learn his lines, but the three of us felt like we wanted one last chance to go through everything. Pip's bedroom was not any tidier than the last time I'd been here. In fact, it was actually a lot worse. But she had managed to clear a small patch of carpet for her and Rooney to act in, and had created a comfy area on the floor near her bed, piled with cushions and snacks for us to chill out on. I sprawled on the cushions while they went over their scenes. You're saying that line wrong, said Rooney to Pip, and it was like we were back in the first week we all met. I say, do you not love me? And you say, why no more than reason. Like, you're trying to conceal your feelings. Pip raised an eyebrow. That's exactly how I'm saying it. No, you're being like, no more than reason? Like it's a question. I'm definitely not. Rooney gestured at me with her copy of Much Ado About Nothing. You are. Look, just trust me. I know this play. Excuse me, I also know this play, and I'm allowed my own interpretation. I know, and that's fine, but like, Pip raised her eyebrows. I think you're just scared of me outshining you on stage. There was a pause while Rooney realized that Pip was joking. Why would I be scared of that when I'm clearly the superior actor? Rooney shot back, snapping the book shut. Wow. Presumptuous much? Sumptuous much? Just stating the facts, Pip squeak. Rue, said Pip. Come on, you know I'm a better actor. Rooney opened her mouth to shoot back a retort, but the sudden use of a nickname seemed to have taken her so off guard that she couldn't even think of a comeback. I don't think I'd ever seen her so genuinely flustered until that moment. How about we take a break, I said. We could watch a movie. Yeah, said Rooney, not looking at Pip as she joined me on the stack of cushions. Okay. We put on we put on Easy A because Rooney had never seen it, and though not quite up there with Moulin Rouge, it was one of my and Pip's favorite sleepover movies. I hadn't seen it for a while, not since before coming to Durham. I'd forgotten this movie is about a girl who lies about not being a virgin for social clout, I said, once we were all about half an hour in. I was sitting between Pip and Rooney. AKA the plot of at least 80% of teen movies, said Rooney. So unrealistic. Pip snorted. You mean you didn't lie about sleeping with a guy and then walk around with the letter A embroidered on your corset when you were 17? Didn't have to lie, said Rooney. And I can't sew. I don't get why so many teen movies are about teenagers who are obsessed with losing their virginity, I said. Like, who actually cares? Pip and Rooney said nothing for a moment. Well, I think quite a lot of teenagers do care about it, said Rooney. Take Pip, for example. These two love messing with each other right now, dude. Jeez. Excuse me, Pip exclaimed. I'm not obsessed with losing my virginity. Sure you're not. I just think having sex would be fun, that's all. Pip faced the screen again, going a little red. I don't care about being a virgin. Sex seems so fun. So I'd like to start having it sooner rather than later. Rooney looked over at her. I mean, I was joking, but that's good to know too. Pippi went even redder and stammered. Shut up! But why aren't, like, most teen movies focused around the fact that teenagers feel like they're going to die if they don't lose their virginity? I asked. Then almost immediately figured out what the answer was. Oh, this is an asexual thing. I laughed at myself. I forgot other people are obsessed with having sex. Wow, that's really funny. She's... Oh my god, this is getting hilarious. I suddenly realized both Rooney and Pip were gazing at me with small smiles on their faces. Not pitying or patronizing, just kind of like they were happy for me. I guess it was a development that I could laugh about my sexuality. That had to be progress, right? It's a good movie, but I think it'd be better if the main romance was gay, said Pip. Agreed, said Rooney, and we looked at her. I thought you'd be into this sort of adorable post-John Hughes hetero romance, said Pip. That's the straights eat this shit up. They do, said Rooney. Rooney agreed. But fortunately, I'm not straight, so yeah. There was a long, long silence. Oh, Pip choked. Well, that's good then. Yeah. We finished the rest of the movie in extremely awkward silence, and when it was done, I knew it was time for me to go. To step away and let this happen. They tried to get me to stay, but I insisted. I needed to sleep, I told them. They could go through their last scene on their own. I guess I felt a little lonely as I walked out of Castle. I walked down the corridors, out of Pip's block, across the green and back towards St. John's. It was dark and cold at nearly 1 a.m. I was alone. I was alone now. When I got back to my room, I put Universe City on YouTube. Well, I don't know what the heck Universe City is. If someone knows what Universe City is, please let me know, because I am very curious to know what that is. Anyway, when I got back to my room, I put Universe City on YouTube while I changed into my pajamas, took my contacts out, brushed my teeth, and checked on Roderick, who really did seem to be doing better these days. And then I snuggled into my half of the bed, wrapping the covers round me. I fell asleep for half an hour, but woke up in a sweat, my mind filled with flashes of nightmares about apocalyptic futures and all my friends dying, and rolled my head automatically to check for Rooney, but she wasn't there. It was harder to fall back to sleep when she wasn't there. I woke up with my head feeling like TV static and a stomach full of bees, which was a given for show day. But none of that compared to the feeling of dread that washed over me as I checked my phone to find I had a huge stream of messages from Pip. The first ones read, Philippa Quintana. Georgia! Emergency! I fucked up! Rooney is gone! So I want it to be known that what we're about to hear will be looked at in more detail in the next part, in part 5. It will be after the technical part 5 ends, but I'm going to add that part to the part 5 read along because it is part of the story. But we'll get to that when we get to that. I'm gonna get me a drink real quick. Coke. That's not Coke, that's tea. Forrest, Coke is black and tea is brown. How the hell are you gonna confuse? I know the glass is dirty, but look. That inside is tea. How am I gonna confuse a brown liquid with black Coke pop? And I know I'm saying Coke because I have a Coke bottle in the fridge that I drank along with the little scissors I got over here. Um, and that's still funny to me because I was on DoorDash and I was getting me some Little Caesars again. Loving Little Caesars, but I think I'm getting a little bit addicted to Little Caesars. Probably nothing. But anyway, while I was getting me Little Caesars, I got me a bottle of pop that I currently have in the fridge. And here's the funny thing about that bottle of pop, okay? There are two, obviously, places like to sell, like the small 20-ounce bottle of pop. And not every store does this, but some stores do carry a bigger size pop. Not the 2-liter pop that you may be thinking of. I'm talking like the 1.25 liter pop. And what's really funny about that is how going on DoorDash and getting something at Dollar General, just getting the 1.25 liter a pop. And here's the reason why: the the small 20-ounce bottle of pop is $3.25 on DoorDash at Dollar General. But I'm guessing it's on sale or something. Now that I'm thinking about this, but the 1.25 liter of Coke, which for reference's sake, I do have an empty bottle of that size over here actually. So you have the 20-ounce bottle of Coke, and this, as you can see right there, is the 1.25 liter size bottle of pop. Basically, your king size Coke, okay? It really is a king size Coke when you think about it. But let me tell you, this bottle of pop, like I said, going to Dollar General, you could get a 20-ounce bottle of pop for $3.25. This bottle of Coke, at the same Dollar General that said 20-ounce 20-ounce bottle of Coke is, this thing runs at $1.85. So I'm pretty sure there's like a sale on it going on in the Dollar General where I'm getting this from. But holy shit! For a pop this size, you are definitely getting your buck. Because you basically have enough Coke in this one bottle to basically drink 2 separate bottles of 20 fluid ounce Cokes. Yeah. Yeah. I would throw this away, but I'm not throwing that down, so we're just gonna move on from that. Anyway. And also, we are 3 chapters away we are 2 chapters away from the final chapter, 3 chapters away to the end of part 4. Horny and confused. Philippa Donna. Okay, I know it's 7 a.m. and you're definitely asleep, but oh my god, you are going to murder me when I explain what just happened. Oh my god! Okay. Wow! Sorry, I literally cannot process. Okay, right. So, everything was fine last night. Like, once you left, we just went through our last scene. I mean, fine by our standards. Like, obviously, Tondo was just full of tension every time. But by the time we finished, it was super late. Like, it was like 3 a.m. And so I offered to let her sleep in my room, as in my bed with me. And she said, yes! This was definitely not a good idea because I did not sleep for 1 single minute. My dude. She woke up again at like 5 a.m. and went to go get some water. When she got back, I knew she could tell I was awake, so we just started talking while lying in bed. And I don't know if it was because we were just tired or what, but like, it was different. We weren't bantering. We were just talking about stuff. Like, first about the play, and then about our lives at school, and all sorts of deep shit. She told me, man, we talked about a lot of really personal stuff for like at least an hour, maybe more. She told me she thinks she's pansexual. Let's see. Okay, before we continue, because I've done this plenty of times throughout my reading of this book, and for contextual reasons,
burgeoning use among celebrities today. From its origins in the early 20th century psychoanalysis to its burgeoning use among celebrities today, the word pansexual has come a long way to get to this pop culture moment. And we love how it challenges us to think about gender, sexuality, attraction, and desire. So, how much do we really know about the word pansexual? According to the Oxford English Dictionary, pansexual first appeared in 1914 as the word pansexualism in the Journal of Abnormal Sexuality. A doctor named J. Victor Haberman criticized Sigmund Freud's method of psychoanalysis and unpacked one part of his theory, which was that the pansexualism of mental life, which makes every trend revert finally to the sexual. In other words, Freud theorized that sex was the motivator of all things, hence pansexualism. The word pansexual itself was derived from the Greek prefix pan, which means all, and of course sexual. At the time, it was a psychoanalytic...
I like how they got it set up like this. Like pan, all, everything, and sexual. You already know. I like how they say that. It's really funny, but it's also for an adult and, teens who are about to become adults. By that point, yeah, you should know what the term sexual means.
Term used far differently from how we use it today. Though pansexual may not have been used to describe sexual orientation at this time, there were reports of people in the 1920s and 1930s who loved to cross labels and boundaries in Harlem and Chicago's South Side. In fact, it wasn't until the 1940s that the pioneering sex researcher Alfred Kinsey laid out how sexuality operated on a continuum with his scale that measured the degrees of heterosexuality and homosexuality. His work helped pave the way for labels that describe sexual orientation and the possibility for labels beyond heterosexual and homosexual. Still, anything outside of being straight was thought of as a mental disorder, and even pansexual in its psychoanalytic use was condemned. In a 1952 speech, Pope Pius said that the, quote, pansexual method of psychoanalytic therapy went against Christian values. The 1970s saw the first inklings of pansexual being used in roughly the same way it is today to describe desire and identity. A 1974 New York Times article about the sexual revolution proclaimed, "I see that a lot of people are going bisexual this year. This seems to be different from going homosexual, which was last year," and then declared, "I know what comes next season, it's pansexuality." The paper of record used the word again a year later to describe androgynous British rocker Brian Eno, who was in the band Roxy Music. The New York Times might have been onto something, because in the 1980s, pansexual as a sexual orientation continued to proliferate. But the word also acquired a slightly different meaning, like at pansexual play parties in San Francisco, where the term expressed that a person may be interested in a wide array of sexual experiences. It was a way of saying, I'm down with lots of different kinds of sex. Now, according to some researchers, it's also possible that the word became popular thanks to BDSM, bondage and discipline, dominance, submission, sadism and masochism, and kink communities. After World War II, BDSM groups formed in big cities as queer people returned from service, and the term has since been used in these communities to connect different sexual orientations. The 1990s ushered a time for sexually fluid and non-monosexual people, those who are attracted to more than one gender, to contemplate their labels. The current meaning of pansexual grew out of the spirit of activism and the desire to reclaim identity in one's own terms, as greater awareness of trans, binary, and genderqueer identities spread. It evolved to mean a person is attracted to people of all genders for reasons independent of their gender, or as a way of saying, I'm attracted to people of all genders for reasons about their genders. Early social media communities on the internet made the way for pan community to grow. In 2002, the live journal community, I Am Pansexual, proclaimed an...
You know, when you think about it, the internet has done quite a lot for everybody. From being the type where people could go to places like forums and, like things like in forum groups and, connect with people that feel the same way as they do, or, people, and, it can do a lot of good for people that feel like they cannot relate to people in their life, in their personal life, but on the internet they could have people that could relate to them in many different ways, and that's where forums come in. Because forums was basically a way for people to interact with each other publicly, and because forums were all the rage back then. You could have all different kinds of different group chats and things like that with multitude of different people, from the positive to the negative. Every forum is going to have its groups of people, but nowadays, for the most part, most if not all websites don't really like dealing with hate. They don't really care for the hate, for hate speech nowadays. For the most part, it's basically either be respectful or there's the door. But I don't know what it was like back then because I was a kid and I didn't really go to forums or websites like that. I was going to things like Nick.com, I was going to NickJr.com, Noggin.com. I was going to, there was this one website, I can't remember the name of it, but I remember there was this one website where you could go to a grade, like from kindergarten to 6th grade, I think it was, I can't remember, but, or it could have been like elementary level website right there. Not ABC Mouse, that was way after this one. But it was like where you could, I think it was like there was like a board game or something. It kind of was like a board game thing, and you had to try. I guess the best way to describe it would basically be like Mini Game Island from the Mario Party series, where you played games that that you were to learn how to do certain math problems. So it was kind of like ABC Mouse before ABC Mouse was a thing. But I can't remember the name of that website though. Oh, that's gonna hurt. That's gonna make me wonder, cause it has been forever since I last seen that website. Hell, there was this one game that I remember very well that I would love to play. That was on a website, but I also cannot remember the name of it. But it very much reminded me of Star Fox, but it was more like you were trying to move from one space to another, like you're moving in like a A to like point A to point B kind of thing going on there, and you were hopping from one spot to another as the screen was moving you forward, and you had to move it because if your ship hit the side of a wall or you like crashed into a wall front first, or like I said, either the sides you would crash. And you also had to be careful because I think there was some hazards on the road that you were on, like the path that you were on too. So I wish I remembered the name of that because I loved playing that game. One of my favorite Flash games. Ah, yes, and also the internet. I remember there was another one. There were also you also had Newgrounds actually, yeah. But there was also two websites that I went to that were very similar. You had y8.com and you had a123.com. Both websites would have the same games, but some games were exclusive to y8.com and others were exclusive to a123.com. I do remember those two. I do remember those two websites. I doubt they're still up and running though, but I do remember them. But it was because of those two websites that I watched some popular videos back in the day. The most popular one that I could think of, which was more of a pop-up jump scare thing, was "Can you see what's wrong with this picture?" And it was a picture of like it was a picture of like like a kitchen area, like the table, like the kitchen area, like the kitchen table. Like it was like on the part of like a dining room or kitchen area, and a window was there, and it was basically where you were looking at the screen, but then, a fucking face pops up out of nowhere, and you get that scream. Yeah, you get that jump scare. Yeah, I remember that. I didn't like it. Funnily enough, my very first interaction with a jump scare, now that I'm thinking about it, was actually really funny. I played what was popular at the time. I played the Scary Maze game. Yes, the original Scary Maze game. And I was playing it on a computer that had no sound on it. Like, I couldn't do anything with it. It was, I couldn't, it was crazy. It's kind of funny to me. But, yeah, so when the jump scare happened, I didn't get jumped scared because, again, my computer had the problem of no audio, so I couldn't hear anything. Which was for the better now that like when I was watching it a few years later, because that's when I heard the jump scare, and I wasn't really scared because I've already seen that face because I played it before, but I was like, yeah, I missed that part, and so many people, whenever I tell this story to people who have fallen victim to that to that Scary Maze game jump scare, whenever I see it on videos, they would always tell me, "You lucky. You are so lucky." Because I got jump scared. You got lucky because you didn't have a computer with a sound on it. You are a lucky man.
Its first post. We are here to help support.
But I think you get the idea. Pansexual basically is someone who is sexually attracted to people regardless of gender. But I'm pretty sure you have to. But I am pretty sure. You have to meet certain conditions in order for that person who is pansexual to have feelings for you. But anyway, we're gonna read back that paragraph so that way you guys know where we were at. Alright? She woke up again at like 5 a.m. and went to get some water, and when she got back, I knew she could tell I was awake, so we just started talking while lying in bed, and I don't know if it was because we were just tired or what, but like, it was different. We weren't bantering. We were just talking about stuff. First about the play, and then about our lives at school and all sorts of deep shit. She told me, Man, we talked about a lot of really personal stuff for like at least an hour, maybe more. She, maybe more. She told me she thinks she's pansexual. She said she just doesn't think she really has a gender preference, and that it felt like the right word for her. She said you already kind of knew about it. We've been talking for ages, and then we were just quiet for a while. Then she said, then she was like, and I quote, she literally said, I know it seems like I hate you, but it's actually the opposite. Georgia, I died. I was like, yeah, me too. While trying not to actually scream. And then she just leaned in and kissed me! She immediately moved away with this expression like she was scared she made a mistake. But obviously she had not made a mistake, and she could see it on my fucking face. And then she leaned in again and we literally started making out! Like I'm talking making out. So I'm just like, holy fuck, how is this happening? I'm gonna need to cease till we just make out on my bed for like 20 minutes. This story gets a bit not safe for work from here on. I'm very sorry about this, but if I don't tell someone what happened, then I will die. Yeah, if you're at work, you might want to leave right now because she even warns it. She even warns it right there. Yeah, that. Yeah, so it's gonna be not safe for work. I love how she puts. I love how she gives a warning for anybody that's probably watching this, listening to this while at work. So yeah, if you want to listen, if you're at work, probably best not to watch this at work. Either that or put headphones on and you can listen to the rest of it. Anyway, so after a while, she kneels up and just like takes her t-shirt off, and I'm like, oh my god. And then I'm thinking, okay, she wants to go further than just making out, and I'd be okay with that. I also want to do that. She like lies back down and is like, is this okay? And I'm like, hell yeah, please proceed. I didn't use the phrase please proceed during my first sexual encounter. I think I just nodded very enthusiastically. She put that in parentheses. So obviously I've never done anything sexual with anyone, and she's like, just about to put her hand in my pajama shorts, and I'm nervous as hell, but extremely up for it, lol. But then she pulls back and she's like, oh my god. And she jumps off me and just starts freaking out. Like pulling her clothes on and packing up all her stuff. And being like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And I'm just lying there horny and confused, like, And then she's like, shit, I messed everything up. And then she just like runs out of my room. She is gone! I've called her and messaged her, but I have no idea where she is. Is she back at yours? I'm so worried and confused in the place today, and I'm just freaking out a little bit. I think I might have upset her and ruined everything. But also I think I need to get a couple of hours of sleep now because otherwise I may pass out on stage this afternoon. So, yeah, message me when you wake up. Georgia War. I'm awake. Oh my god. Alright, the penultimate chapter of part 4. That's where we're on. Oh. Oh, damn, I can't believe it's 3 o'clock already. I figured I'd have a little bit more time. I guess I was talking so much. Shit. Anyway, I will find her. Georgia War. She's not here. Don't panic. I will find her. I called her first and sat there in our bed, listening to the phone ringing, waiting. It went through to voicemail. Where are you? I said instantly, but didn't know what else to say, so I just hung up, rolled myself out of bed, put on the nearest clothes I could grab, and ran. This could not be happening. She was not abandoning us on the day of the show. She was not abandoning me. I ran all the way. Oh, well, I think okay, it left. Okay. I ran all the way to the bottom of the stairway before realizing that I had literally no idea where to look. She could be anywhere. A library, a cafe, somewhere in college, someone's flat. Durham is small, but it wasn't possible to search a whole city in one day. But I had to try. I ran all the way to the theater first. She'd probably just decided to meet us there. Maybe gone to get a Starbucks first. We'd all agreed to meet there at 10 a.m. Our performance was at 2 p.m., and it was 9:30 now, so she was probably just a bit early. I crashed into the door in my attempt to open it. It was locked. That was when I started to get scared. She'd left Pip just before dawn. Where had she gone after that? I would have woken up if she'd come back to our room. Had she gone to meet one of her many friends who didn't seem to care about her? Had she gone to a club? The clubs didn't stay open that late, did they? I crouched down on the pavement, trying to breathe. Shit! What if something bad had happened? What if some man had pulled up in a car and grabbed her? What if she'd been walking along the bridge and fallen in? I pulled my phone out of my pocket and called Rooney again. She didn't pick up. Maybe she didn't even have her phone with her. I called Pip instead. Did you find her? Was the first thing she said when she picked up. No, she's... I didn't even know what to tell her. She's... gone. Gone? What do you mean, gone? I stood up, looking around as if I might suddenly see her up the street, running towards me in her sports leggings, her ponytail flying behind her. But I didn't. Of course I didn't. My voice broke. She's just gone. This is my fault, said Pip instantly, and I could hear how devastated she was, and how much she truly believed what she was saying. I shouldn't have... She probably didn't even... It was way too soon for us to even... No, it's my fault, I said. I should have been looking out for her. I should have seen this coming. I knew her better than anyone. Anyone in her whole life. I'll find her, I said. I promise I'll find her. I owed her that. I ran to the club we went to in Freshers Week when she told me to search for someone I fancied while she went off to get with a guy. Years ago, that felt like. It was closed. Of course it was. It was a Saturday morning. I went to Tesco like I might just see her browsing cereal options, and I walked around the square like she might just be sitting on a stone bench, scrolling on her phone. I crossed Elvet Bridge and stormed into the Elvet Riverside Lecture Hall building, not even sure if they opened it on the weekend, but not caring, having no idea why she would be here on a Saturday morning, but hoping, praying. I went up to the student union to find it locked, and then I couldn't run anymore because my chest hurt, so I walked to the Bill Bryson library, went inside, stood on the main stairs and just shouted, "Rooney!" once. Everybody turned to look at me, but I didn't care. Rooney wasn't there. She wasn't anywhere. Were we not good enough for her in the end? Was I not good enough? Or had we just gotten through to her, only for something terrible to happen to her? I called her again, and it went to voicemail. Did something happen? I asked. I hung up again. I had no idea what else to say. Back outside the library, my phone started to ring, but it was only Jason. What's going on? He asked. I'm at the theater and no one else is here except Sunil. Rooney's gone. What do you mean, gone? Don't worry, I'll find her. Georgia, I hung up and tried Rooney a third time. Maybe you from the Freshers Week would have left us, but not now. Not after everything. I felt tightness in my throat. You wouldn't have left me. When I hung up that time, I realized my phone only had 5% battery left because I had failed to put it on charge last night. The wind whipped around me on the street. Should I call the police? I started walking back towards the town center, all the what-ifs circling around my head. What if she'd gone home? What if she'd fallen in the river and died? I stopped in the middle of the pavement, a memory suddenly flashing in my mind so hard I felt like I got whiplash. On that first night in the town, Rudy had put herself on Find My Friends on my phone. I hadn't used it at all in the end, but would it work now? I nearly dropped my phone in my haste to get it out and check, and sure enough, there on the map was a little circle with Rudy's face in it. She was apparently in a field by the river, maybe a kilometer away in the countryside. I didn't even let myself think why. I just started running again. I hadn't thought about what Durham might be like outside the city center. All I'd known for the past 6 months was university buildings, cobbled streets, and tiny cafes. But it only took 10 minutes for me to find myself in a big, endless greenery. Long fields stretched out ahead as I followed the small, worn footpaths and tracked the little Rooney dot on my phone until my phone screens went black and I couldn't anymore. By that point, I didn't need it. The dot had been by the river, next to a bridge. I just needed to get to the bridge. It took another 15 minutes. At one point I was scared I was truly lost, with no Google Maps to help me, but I just kept going, following the river until I saw it. The bridge. The bridge was empty. The surrounding footpaths and fields were too. I just stood there and looked for a moment. Then I walked across the bridge and back, like Rooney might be sleeping down on the riverbank, or I might see the back of her head bobbing in the water. But I didn't. Instead, when I reached the footpath again, I saw light glint off something on the grass. It was Rooney's phone. I picked it up and turned the screen on. All of my missed calls were on there. Lots of from Pip too, and even a couple from Jason. I sat down in the grass, and I just cried. From exhaustion, from confusion, from fear. I just sat in the field with Rooney's phone and cried. Even after everything, I couldn't help her. I couldn't be a good friend to her. I couldn't make her feel like she mattered in my life. Georgia! A voice. I looked up. For a moment I thought I might be dreaming. Whether she was a projection from my mind of what I wished was happening right now. But she was real. Rudy was running across the bridge to me, a Starbucks in one hand and a bunch of flowers in the other. And now the final chapter of part 4. Obviously gotta get a drink first because you never know what could happen, you know. Oh, excuse me. Grand gesture. Oh my god, Georgia. Why are you... What's wrong? Rudy collapsed onto her knees in front of me and stared at the tears flowing out of my eyes. Pip had cried in front of me dozens of times. It didn't take much to set her off. Often it had been warranted, but sometimes she cried just because she was tired, or that one time she cried because she made a lasagna and then dropped it on the floor. Jason had cried in front of me has cried in front of me a few times, only when really bad things happened, like when he realized how horrible Amy was to him, or we watched really sad movies about old people like The Notebook and Pixar's Up. Yep, I can see it on both fronts. because the Notebook, it does involve two older people at the beginning and the end of the story, but they do focus on their younger selves throughout the rest of the movie. And Up has what is regarded as one of the saddest, if not the saddest, opening moments in any, not just Disney Pixar movie, but also possibly any movie, period. I'm not even kidding when I say that. Rudy had cried in front of me a few times too, when she first told me about her ex, outside Pip's store, and when we moved the beds together. I'd never cried in front of her. I'd never cried in front of anyone. Why are you here? I managed to say around in between heaving breaths. I didn't want her to see me like this. God, I didn't want anyone to see me. I could ask you the same thing. She dropped the flowers on the ground and placed her Starbucks cup carefully on the footpath and sat down next to me on the grass. I realized she was wearing different clothes from last night. She was now in different leggings and a sweatshirt. When she got back to her, when had she gone back to her room to change? Had I slept through her coming back? She wrapped an arm around me. I thought you were in the river, I said. You thought I'd fallen in the river and died? Don't know. I was scared. I'm not dumb. I don't just go around jumping in rivers. I looked at her. You frequently stay at strangers' houses. Rudy pursed her lips. Okay. You locked yourself out of college at 3 a.m. Okay, maybe I am a bit dumb. I wiped my face, feeling a little calmer. Why was your phone here? She paused. I walk out here sometimes. After nights out. Well, usually the mornings after. I just like coming out here and feeling like everything's calm. You never told me. She shrugged. I didn't think anyone would really care about it. It's just my thing that I did to clear my head. So I came out here this morning and at some point I dropped my phone and I didn't realize until I was all the way back at college. You must have already left by that point. So I just got changed and ran back here and now we're both here. She still had her arm around me. We stared out at the river. Did Pip tell you what happened? She asked. Yeah. I tapped my foot against hers. Why'd you run? She let out a deep breath. I'm very scared of getting close to people. And last night with Pip, what we were about to do, I just started to think that I was doing what I normally did. Having sex to just detach myself from feeling anything real. She shook her head. But I wasn't. I realized almost as soon as I left. I realized it would have been the first time with someone I actually cared about. With someone who cared about me too. She's really worried about you, I said. Maybe we should get back. Rooney turned to me. You were really worried about me too, weren't you? She said. I've never seen you cry before. I clenched my teeth, feeling the tears welling up again. This was why I didn't cry in front of people. When I started, it took me ages to stop. What's going on? She said. Talk to me. I looked down. I didn't want her to see me, but Rudy was looking at me, eyebrows furrowed, so many thoughts turning behind her eyes, and it was that look that made me start spilling everything out. I just care about you so much, But I've always got this fear that one day you'll leave. Or Pip and Jason will leave, or... I don't know. Fresh tears fell from my cheeks. I'm never gonna fall in love, so... My friendships are all I have, so... I just can't bear the idea of losing any of my friends. Because I'm never going to have that one special person. Can you let me be that person? Rudy said quietly. I sniffed loudly. What do you mean? I mean, I want to be your special person. But that's not how the world works. People always put romance over friendships. Says who? Said Rudy spluttered, smacking her hand on the ground in front of us. The heteronormative rulebook? Fuck that, Georgia. Fuck that. She stood up, flailing her arms and pacing as she spoke. I know you've been trying to help me with Pip, she began. And I appreciate that, Georgia. I really do. I like her. And I think she likes me, and we like being around each other, and... Yep, I'm just gonna say it. I think we really, really want to have sex with each other. I just stared at her, my cheeks tear-stained, having no idea where this was going. But you know what I realized on my walk? She said. I realized that I love you, Georgia. My mouth dropped open. Obviously, I'm not romantically in love with you. But I realized that whatever these feelings are for you, She grinned wildly. I feel like I am in love. Me and you. This is a fucking love story. I feel like I found something most people just don't get. I feel at home around you in a way I have never felt in my fucking life. And maybe most people would look at us and think that we're just friends or whatever. But I know that it's just so much more than that. She gestured dramatically at me with both hands. You changed me. You fucking saved me. I swear to God, I know I still do a lot of dumb stuff. And I say the wrong things, and I still have days where I just feel like shit. But I've felt happier over the past few weeks than I have in years. I couldn't speak. I was frozen. Rudy dropped to her knees. Georgia, I am never going to stop being your friend. And I don't mean that in the boring average meaning of friend, where we stop talking regularly when we're 25 because we both met nice young men and gone off to have babies and only get to meet up twice a year. I mean I'm going to pester you to buy a house next door to me when we're 45 and have finally saved up enough for our deposits. I mean, I'm going to be crashing around yours every night for dinner because you know I can't fucking cook to save my life. And if I've got kids and a spouse, they'll probably come around with me because otherwise they'll be living on chicken nuggets and chips. I mean, I'm going to be the one bringing you soup when you text me that you're sick and can't get out of bed and ferrying you to the doctors even when you don't want to go because you feel guilty about using the NHS when you just have a stomach bug. I mean, we're going to knock down the fence between our gardens so we can have one big garden and we can both get a dog and take turns looking after it. I mean, I'm going to be here annoying you until we're old ladies, sitting in the same care home, talking about putting on a Shakespeare because we're old and bored as shit. This is so good. I love this moment. She grabbed a bunch of flowers and practically threw them at me. And I bought these for you because I honestly didn't know how else to express any of that to you. I was crying. I just started crying again. Rooney wiped the tears off my cheeks. What? Don't you believe me? Because I'm not fucking joking. Don't sit there and tell me I'm lying because I'm not lying. Did any of that make sense? She grinned. I am extremely sleep deprived right now. I couldn't speak. I was a mess. She gestured at the bunch of flowers which had pretty much exploded in my lap. I really wanted to do some grand gesture like you did for Pip and Jason, but I couldn't think of anything because you're the brains in this friendship. That made me laugh. She wrapped her arms around me, and then I was just half laughing, quiet, half crying, happy and sad at the same time. Don't you believe me? She said. She asked again, holding me tight. I believe you, I said, my nose all bunched up and my voice croaky. I promise. And that, a bit longer than it should have been in my book, but whatever, was the second half of part 4. And we only got literally that many pages left to read. So, tomorrow night I may be going back to more Phoenix Wright and then more of this, depending on how long it takes me to do Phoenix Wright and what time I do it. But either way, so that's the plan. I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for watching this reading live stream of of Loveless. Tomorrow night, if not the night after, we finally finish the story, which means I can finally read this other book. One of these 2 other books. I know I said I was going to do that, but I'm actually going to I'm going to make a poll tomorrow, and we'll see what you guys. We'll see which one you guys want. All right. So, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this is Forrest Walpole signing off.